My family, Dad, Mom, and I, Sarah Chen, whose name has been changed, live in a quite peaceful residential area in the suburbs of Salem, Massachusetts. This area is famous for its history related to the witch trials. And although modern times are different, the atmosphere here sometimes carries a strange and ancient feel. Right near my house, there is an old, abandoned house that has been empty for a very long time. This house is hidden among overgrown bushes, looking gloomy and scary, and is the source of many rumors in the neighborhood. People say that the house is haunted, that strange things happen inside. I wasn't someone who fully believed in ghosts, but I also didn't dare to go near that abandoned house at night. It always had a cold and mysterious appearance. On a late summer afternoon in 2022, as I was walking home from school, I passed by the abandoned house as usual. When I got near the dilapidated gate of the house, I suddenly saw something lying on the sidewalk, right in front of the gate. It was a box, a small box, looking old and covered in dust. Curiosity arose within me. What was that box? Why was it here? I stopped, looking around. There was no one nearby. Only the eerie silence of the abandoned house and the faint sound of wind rustling through the trees. I bent down and picked up the box. It was a little heavier than I thought. The box was made of wood, but it looked very old, with the paint peeling off in many places. What was notable was that it seemed to have been scorched in a few corners, with black burn marks and a faint smell of burning lingering. I realized it was a music box. There was a small crank on the side and a lid that opened and closed. Curious, I opened the lid of the music box. Inside, there was a complex mechanism of metal and small pins. And in the middle, there was a small image. The image depicted a girl. The girl was wearing a white dress, with a sad face. No one knew that the music box had a girl in white inside it. At least not at that time did I understand the real meaning of that image. I closed the lid of the music box and tried turning the small crank. A faint, sad melody played, the melody of an old song, sounding very distant and melancholic. I felt a slight shiver. The old music box, scorched, lying in front of the abandoned house, and the sad melody from within, all carried a strange atmosphere. However, curiosity and the desire to explore outweighed my apprehension. I thought it was just an old item left behind. I decided to take the music box home. I put it in my backpack and continued walking home. I didn't know that picking up that old music box had opened a door to another world, and brought something that didn't belong to this world home. The mystery of the old music box had just begun. The melody from the abandoned house had followed me home. I brought the old, scorched music box home and placed it on my desk in my room. It looked out of place among my modern belongings. An artifact from the past carrying a mysterious atmosphere. Occasionally, I would open the music box and turn the crank to hear that sad melody. The melody both sent shivers down my spine and held a strange fascination. Every time I heard it, I would think of the abandoned house and the girl in the drawing. The first few nights after bringing the music box home, nothing special happened, only its silent presence in the room. Then, around the third or fourth night, I was fast asleep. Around midnight, suddenly, I was startled awake by a faint sound. The sound of footsteps. Faint, tapping footsteps walking around my room. I lay still in bed, listening. My heart pounded. The footsteps were very faint, like bare feet or light shoes. They walked around the room, from one corner to another. I held my breath, trying to see in the darkness. The room was pitch black. I couldn't see anything. I thought perhaps I was dreaming, or it was just the old house creaking. But the footsteps were very clear. Then, the footsteps stopped. An eerie silence enveloped the room. I lay there, not daring to move, waiting. A while later, I heard another sound. Crying. Very faint, weak crying, like the crying of a small girl. The crying sounded sad, full of loneliness. The crying seemed to come from somewhere in the room, but I couldn't pinpoint the location. I shivered. That crying wasn't from my sister. My sister slept in another room. Footsteps and crying, both of these sounds appeared at night. After I brought the music box home, a deep sense of unease crept into me. Was this music box the cause? I tried to tell myself that I was just imagining it, due to hearing stories about the abandoned house and being haunted. But those sounds were too real. That night, I couldn't sleep anymore. I lay in bed, eyes wide open in the darkness, listening. The footsteps were gone. The crying was also gone. But I knew that something unusual was happening. Melody and strange sounds had appeared in my room, and they came from the old music box. Sounds from the haunted music box had begun to torment me at night. The following nights, the noises in my room continued. The faint tapping footsteps walking around, and the weak crying of the small girl. Although I tried to ignore them, they still scared me and made it difficult to sleep. I started looking tired during the day due to lack of sleep. I didn't dare to tell my parents about this immediately, afraid they wouldn't believe me, or would worry too much. However, my father was observant. He noticed that I looked tired and seemed worried. One morning, as I was eating breakfast, my father looked at me and asked, "Sarah, didn't you sleep well last night?" I was a bit startled. I just had a little trouble sleeping, Dad, I said, trying to keep my voice normal. My father stared at me, as if trying to read my thoughts. "I heard strange noises from your room last night," my father said softly, his voice serious. My heart pounded. "Dad heard it too? What kind of noises, Dad?" I asked, pretending not to know. "Footsteps, walking around your room," my father said, his eyes full of concern. And I think I heard crying too." I knew I couldn't hide it anymore. "Yes, Dad," I said softly. I heard it too." My father was silent for a moment. His face was full of worry. Did you pick up anything from the street and bring it home?" My father asked suddenly. I froze. Why would Dad ask that? Then, I remembered the music box. The old, scorched music box I found in front of the abandoned house. "Yes, Dad," I said softly, feeling guilt and fear rising within me. I found a music box in front of the abandoned house's gate." My father's face suddenly changed. He stared at me, his eyes widening. "Music box? Old, scorched?" my father asked, his voice slightly trembling. "Yes," I nodded. My father sat in silence for a moment, as if thinking very quickly. Then, he sighed, a heavy sigh. "All right," my father said. "Where is the music box? Bring it here for me to see." I went up to my room, took the old music box from my desk, and brought it down to Dad. My father took the music box. Looking at it carefully, he opened the lid. Looking inside, he turned the crank a little, listening to the sad melody. His face became more and more serious. "This music box carries something not good," my father said softly, as if talking to himself. The worried father had realized the secret of the music box. Late-night sounds weren't imagination. They were real, and they were related to this old, scorched music box. I knew my family was facing something supernatural, and my father would do anything to protect us. My father believed that the old, Scorched music box was the source of the strange noises in my room. He was very worried, not only for me, but for the whole family. He knew that we couldn't live with those scary supernatural phenomena. My father wasn't superstitious, but he believed in the existence of spirits. He also knew that there were things in this world that science couldn't explain. He decided to seek help from people experienced in the spiritual realm. My father contacted a priest from the church near our house, Father Michael, whose name has been changed. Father Michael was known as someone knowledgeable about paranormal phenomena and had helped many people who had encountered similar problems. My father told Father Michael about what had happened, the footsteps in my room at night, the crying of the small girl, and the fact that I had found the old, scorched music box in front of the abandoned house. Father Michael listened seriously. He said that the music box might have become the dwelling place of a spirit. The spirit might be trapped in the box, or bound to it for some reason. He agreed to come to our house to help. One night, around 11 o'clock, Father Michael came to my house. He was an older man, with a kind face and eyes full of understanding. His presence brought us a sense of peace and hope. We, my parents, me, and Father Michael, sat together in the living room. The house was silent and a little tense. Father Michael examined the old music box. He held it in his hands, closed his eyes, as if sensing the energy from it. His face became more serious. "There is a spirit in here," Father Michael said softly. "A young spirit. It seems to be a girl." That matched the drawing of the girl in white inside the music box and the crying I had heard. Father Michael said that the best way to learn about this spirit and help her was to use a method of spiritual communication. He suggested using a Ouija board. At first, my mother was a little hesitant, but my father and I agreed. We wanted to know the truth about the girl in the music box. Father Michael took out a Ouija board. It was a flat board with letters, numbers, and words like yes, no, goodbye, carved on it. In the middle of the board was a small pointer, called a planchette, with sliding feet. We placed the Ouija board on the coffee table in the middle of the living room. The old music box was placed in the center of the Ouija board. Father Michael prepared a candle. He lit the candle and placed it next to the Ouija board. The flickering light of the candle created a strange and mysterious atmosphere in the room. Help from the church had arrived, and we were about to step into a communication with the other side. The late-night meeting with Father Michael and the old, scorched music box began. We, my parents, me, and Father Michael, all placed a finger on the planchette on the Ouija board. The old music box was in the center of the table. The flickering light of the candle cast dancing shadows on the walls. The atmosphere in the living room was very quiet, but full of anticipation and anxiety. Father Michael closed his eyes and softly read a prayer. Then, he slowly opened his eyes and began to speak to the spirit in the music box. "Is there anyone here?" Father Michael asked softly, his voice calm and patient. "We know you are in this music box. We want to talk to you. We want to help you." Silence fell. The planchette under our fingers didn't move. Time passed slowly. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes. No reaction. I started to feel doubtful. Perhaps Father Michael was mistaken? Perhaps the noises and crying were just my imagination? My parents also looked anxious. Then, about 30 minutes later, just as we were about to give up, the planchette under our fingers suddenly stirred slightly. Very slowly, then a little faster. The planchette began to slide across the Ouija board. My heart pounded. It was real. The planchette slid to the letters. slowly spelling out, I-A-M-H-E-R-E. I am here. A sudden cold draft radiated from the music box, enveloping us. Father Michael remained calm. Thank you for answering, he said. We want to know your name. The planchette started moving again. L-I-L-Y. Your name is Lily? Father Michael asked. The planchette slid to the letter Y-E-S. Can you tell us what happened to you? Father Michael asked softly, his voice full of compassion. The planchette moved faster, as if Lily was eager to tell her story. F-I-R-E-D-I-E-D-I-N-S-I-D-E-B-O-X. You died in a fire. And your spirit is residing inside this box? Father Michael asked softly, his face full of sorrow. The planchette slid to the letters Y-E-S. The talking board had recounted a tragic story. Lily had died in a fire, and her spirit was trapped in the old, scorched music box. Communication with the spirit had revealed the terrifying truth. The Ouija board revealed a terrifying and tragic truth. The girl in the music box was Lily, and her spirit was trapped there after dying in a fire. Father Michael, my parents, and I all felt pity for Lily's fate. Father Michael looked at the music box with eyes full of compassion. He knew that Lily's spirit was suffering and needed to be released. He began to read a passage from the Bible. Prayers to help Lily's spirit find peace and transcend to be with God. His voice was deep and authoritative, echoing in the quiet living room. As Father Michael read the prayers, the atmosphere in the room seemed to change. The bone-chilling cold draft from the music box gradually dissipated, replaced by a feeling of warmth and peace. The old music box vibrated slightly. Father Michael looked at the music box and spoke softly, his voice full of encouragement and love. Lily, you don't need to be afraid anymore. You are no longer trapped. It's time for you to find peace. Let go of your resentment. My dear, go to be with God, where you will find eternal peace. As soon as Father Michael finished speaking, something miraculous happened. From inside the music box, a gentle white light radiated. The light gradually grew stronger, and in that light, a blurry figure was appearing. It was the figure of a small girl. The girl was wearing a white dress, just like the drawing in the music box. The girl's figure wasn't scary. She looked blurry, translucent, but her face was clearer than the drawing. And on her face, there was a smile. A peaceful and happy smile. The girl smiled at Father Michael, looked at my parents, then looked at me. She gently nodded, as if a silent thank you. Thank you. A faint whisper, like the wind, echoed in the room, and then, the girl's figure gradually dissolved into the white light. And then the white light also slowly disappeared. Only the old music box remained quietly on the Ouija board, and the candle still flickered. We sat there, looking at each other, our faces full of astonishment and relief. Lily's spirit had been released. The Ouija board and Father Michael's prayers had helped her find peace. My parents looked at each other, their faces full of joy and emotion. They were very happy that they had helped the little girl's spirit. I also felt relieved and happy. The old music box was no longer a scary object. It was a memento of a spirit that had been set free. Thank you from the other side. Although the encounter with Lily's spirit was a scary experience, in the end, it brought a peaceful conclusion. We learned that not all spirits are evil. Some are simply lost or trapped. And sometimes, with a little compassion and help, we can help them find peace. The story of the haunted music box had ended. But the lesson about life and death, about spirits and release, would forever stay with my family. If you enjoyed these true horror stories, or stories based on accounts and unexplained mysteries, like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on the channel to follow our latest videos. We will bring you more terrifying and haunting stories. Thank you for listening.